All right, so a few years ago, I was having trouble with bears coming for my apple trees and stuff. It's an ongoing thing in fall.
Nathan's a good friend of mine, a hunting guide, and an outdoor enthusiast. He lives out in the bush. I tell you, where Nathan lives, there is way more wildlife than there is people. I'm sure the bears outnumber the human population. And when you spend as much time living, working, and recreating in the outdoors like Nathan does, you're bound to run into a lot of bears. So Nathan's going to tell us a few of his stories here. Stick through to the end, folks, because you're going to hear all about when it was appropriate to shoot and when it wasn't. Exciting story at the end. Anyways, let's turn it over to Nathan. Thanks for watching. Take it away, my friend.
They're finding ways into your yard past electric fences or whatever. And my dog started kicking up a fuss. So you can tell by her bark what's happening, you know. I knew I had a bear. I expected it to be down in the bottom field, so I grabbed my pipe. Now, my pipe is a little double barrel 12 gauge with about 20-inch barrels on it. She's short. Rubber bullet in the right barrel, chunk of lead in the left. And the bear gets one warning, and then it gets serious, right? So I come walking off the porch and down and around the corner and was face to face with a sow grizz and a cub. At a grand range, my house isn't very big. It's only about 30 feet wide. I was within 35 feet of that sow grizz. And I brought the shotgun up and started yelling and moving back. Now, she's what I'd call a good bear. She took that cub and the other one that was with her, behind her, and they were gone off my yard, running for all they were worth. That bear, I had other encounters with her. One night I was coming back, I'd been out, I had a milk cow, and I'm coming from the barn, and I'm in the field. I'm about 40 yards from my backyard, out of my backyard, and my dog is barking, and I yelled her some encouragement and watched 3 sets of eyes leave the backyard. So there I stand with a bucket of milk for protection, with a bear within, a sow grizz with 2 cubs within 20 yards. Yeah, so that was a good bear. It was the same bear, and she left in a rush, but that'll unnerve you pretty quick. The other 2 stories I have, the first one is years ago, me and my brother Wade, we were going to go hunting, and there's a beautiful spot up the line. You can't get there anymore. But same place where Ashley Rempel stood guard over his dad and his uncle as they gutted an elk. We had hunted their lots, and we found that when we shot something up there, the bears came. It was a dinner bell. So one thing we wanted to do is there was slide brush had grown up on the roads, and we wanted to go up there and do some hunting higher up without having to walk forever up these winding roads, you know, back and forth on the mountainside to get there. Mm-hmm. So we decided we'd try and go up with our pickups a little higher, and that ended up with me losing some chrome off the side of my truck and my brother losing a side view mirror off his door. So that wasn't going to work. So we decided we'd take our quads up there. So we went up the mountainside. I had it was the first quads. They made a little TRX 200 Honda, and he was riding a big red trike. Both had electric start and reverse and the whole bit. But we went up there and started up through that brush. And we knew the slide brush was only on the bottom third of the mountain. So what we could do is we could drive up there. When I say third of the mountain, we're at the top of the mountain, but it's a third of the distance we have for good hunting. Mm-hmm. And our plan was once we were above the brush, we would then hike and get into a good position and do some hunting. Well, I came out of that slide brush, ducked under the last of it like that, and came up, and I was almost face to face with a sow grizz and a cub. Now that sow grizz stood 15 yards away with her front paw. I can still remember it. She had her right front paw on the upper bank. She was looking at me, and she had her left paw up like that, and that cub is right between us. And I am nervous, I tell you. I ripped my rifle out of the scabbard like that. Now, this is my scariest situation with a grizzly. Because I was wearing one of those camouflage jackets, those cotton camouflage jackets, and they had pockets. And they had pockets everywhere. And I might have had a vest on over top, which also had pockets. Well, I reached in the pocket for ammo, and there's none. And the other pocket for ammo, and there's none. And in my pants pocket, and in the other pants pocket. And I'm moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. And that sow was just sitting there looking at me. And I'm panicking now because my life's on the line. And I looked over my shoulder, and I see my brother thumbing around into his 300 mag. And that calmed me down a little bit. And I finally found around. Now this everything here is only taken 4 or 5 seconds. Lots enough time for her to cover that distance and kill me. Like there's no hope. And finally, I just found the ammo, finally picked the right pocket, and she just calmly walked up the hill. The cub went up ahead of her, and she just walked up the hill. Yeah. And we just...
Another good bear.
Yeah, absolutely. At that range, I should have been a dead man. Because I obviously wasn't exuding confidence, searching for my ammunition. You know, it's different when you got a gun up and you know you're confident.
Yeah.
But I wasn't confident. She knew I was scared. I knew I was scared. Yeah. So that's probably my scariest bear encounter, because I didn't have any ammunition in my gun. The other story, my brother-in-law and his dad were going for an elk hunt, and they're both on Polaris quads, and I'm on a borrowed trike with no brakes. So I'm taking them to a pretty good spot to find elk, and I'm leading the way on that trike, and I'm doing a good clip because it's the way I hunt. I don't hunt off my quad or my trike or whatever. I go where I'm going, and then I hike and get out in the bush. So we're doing a good clip, and I come flying around a corner on that trike, and there is a sow grizz and 2 cubs in the middle of the road, and she turns and starts to run. Now, I am 10 feet away from her and gaining fast. And I stood up, again, panic mode, stood up on that trike, leaned forward, and got my thighs against the handlebars and started jamming gears down with my left foot, ripped my rifle off my back, got it flipped open, and dropped a shell. I had learned from the first time, I always kept a shell in my hand after that, right? Dropped that shell in, slammed the gun closed. I'm less than 10 feet from her. I'm 10 feet from her head at this point, trying to get that trike slowed down. My brother-in-law and his dad, they see that gun coming off my back, and they know something serious is up. They don't know if it's elk or grizz or what, but they're stopping their quads and getting their guns loaded. And I'm yelling at that bear. She's running, and she keeps looking back and baring her teeth. She wants to turn around and come at me, but I'm coming on too fast. And so she's running and snarling over her shoulder at me, and I'm screaming, keep running, because I didn't want to have to kill her. But, yeah, that's the closest I've ever been to a bear. That was alive. So, yeah, those are times. Those are times that I've been too close to bears, and fortunately didn't have to kill them. I came real close with a sow black bear. I was hunting, sitting on the edge of a little clear cut, and I'm bugling for elk, and there's just nothing happening. And after an hour and a half, I said, I may as well leave. The wind is going from me that way. Okay, so I get up, and I walk down to my quad. I unload my gun. Now, I had my quad parked close, just the way it worked out. It was only about 50 yards from where I'd been hunting. And I slid my rifle into the boot on the quad, and I heard, whoa. And I just got back from moose guiding. I said, moose here? And I saw some bushes moving, and in the back of my mind, this little voice said, you've got a bear, and you've got no bullets in your gun. And then I seen her coming, and it was just this little sow black bear. I saw the cubs go up a tree, and she was coming hard. And she was probably 40 yards out, maybe a little less. and she's coming, and I ripped the rifle out of the gun boot and dropped one in the chamber, slammed the gun shut and brought it up, and now I'm screaming at her because now she's 10 yards away. And I'm screaming at her and walking backwards. And the screaming was enough to unnerve her. She had lost her nerve because I'm being awful loud. I got a loud voice, and I was being awful loud. And she stopped the charge at that point. But the real unnerving thing, and I knew it at that moment, was she was hunting me. She had my wind the whole time I was there. She came in directly downwind of me. There is no way she didn't know what I was. And she came in, and I bluffed her off. She backed off, went back by the cubs, and I left my gun loaded, safety off, climbed on my quad, fired it up, drove up the road 100 yards, unloaded my rifle, and continued on my way. But that little black bear, that black bear was hunting me.
Those cubs were completely safe where they were.
Yeah, she didn't have to bring them to me.
Yeah, no
She
reason
didn't
to come towards you with her.
No. And like I
She
said,
should have been going the other way. That's the bad bear. Yeah.
yeah.
Compared to the good bear.
Well,
She had
obviously,
every reason to walk away.
she was willing to have a confrontation with me because, like I said, she had my wind the whole time.
Wow.
She had my wind the whole time. You know.
Yeah.
And you might say, oh, maybe you were wearing cover scent or something. She should have been able to smell the quad, right? The quad didn't wear any cover scent, and even so, when I walked down to the quad, she had to see me walk down to that quad. She knew I wasn't a deer, an elk, anything like that. Yeah. So anyhow, neighbor phoned me up and said he had a black bear in the tree at his house, and wanted me to come and chase it away or shoot it or whatever. And I don't like shooting them if I can chase them off. So I had a dog that was pretty good, and she'd chase bears. So I went over, and sure enough, this bear's up the tree. So I waited across the yard. When the bear came out of the tree, I sent the dog after. Well, he just went right back up the tree. He wouldn't. There was a store and a restaurant just across the road. There was a house to this side of them, and just a little field with a house on the other side. And people had stopped and were watching. And so I waited, and the bear came out of the tree. We tried again. Well, about the third time, he was tired of that dog, and he started coming towards me, and he was close. He was 10. He'd stopped looking at the dog. The dog bailed, and he was coming. He was looking at me, and I didn't want to shoot him. We just want him to leave the yard, right? And so I put a hole in the ground in front of him at about 10 feet. By this time, my brother's watching from about 200 yards away, yelling, "Shoot him! Shoot him!" But anyhow, the bear went up another tree, and I told the homeowner, I said, you know what? If you're willing to wait until it gets dark, that bear will leave, and there won't be any trouble. I won't have to shoot him. Yeah. There was really no reason to shoot him. There was nothing to attract him to the yard. He was just happened to wander in amongst the houses and think he was trapped and go up a tree. So anyhow, after dark, he went on his way.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good call. Good call.
And my last one, so me and two of my brothers went hunting elk, and we knew where the elk were. And so the idea was is one brother went through the bush, I'll say to the right, and curled around and waited on the escape route. And me and my other brother pushed through the bush to chase the elk past him. Well, it didn't work. When we got there, no elk had showed up. We hadn't heard any elk, nothing. So we're kind of disappointed. We met up and decided, okay, well, we'll head back. So brother that was on stand, he went through the bush down trail, and me and my brother that had pushed, we went down a different trail just in case, run into deer or whatever. And the two trails are pretty close together, but the bush is so thick you can't see nothing in between. There's one little meadow in the middle you run into, and then a bigger meadow, and then you cross the river and you're out.
Yeah.
So anyhow, when we got close to that little meadow, a herd of elk took off running. And we had walked right past them twice, and they hadn't made any sound. We had walked past them on the pushing the first time, Elk are smart. And we walked past them the second time, and then they bolted. So, but we'd split the herd. The cows went east and the bull went west. And we have him separated from his cows. So now we know that he's going to rejoin them cows as soon as he can. So my brother Wade, he quickly goes to join Darrell, and he kind of scoots through the bush into that meadow, and they're talking. I can hear them, and we're just making a plan. We'll push the cows out, and then wait, and the bull will come through after them, right? And we'll have the bull. So, so they're talking, and I look, and I can see these little trees, and I can see them moving, and something is heading straight towards their voices. And I'm going, that has to be the stupidest elk on the face of the earth. I'm waiting for them to, finish the plan and Wade to come back to me, and I hear Wade yell, "Hey, hey, hey, boom!" And I said, "What happened?" He said, "A black bear just charged me." So I go hiking through the bush over there, and they were standing there talking, and that black bear came out of the bush and looked at them and started to trot towards them. And when he yelled, it went into full-blown charge, and he yelled the second time, or third time actually, and it was it was a charge, and he shot that bear at close range, but because he shot so quick, it wasn't that good a shot, and the bear went into the bush. So now elk hunting's done. We got a wounded bear we have to find. We're not worried. We got a tag for him, but so we start going in. So Darrell's leading. He's tracking. Wade's helping him. I'm third guy in line. Bears are famous for circling around waiting on their tracks, and it's the last guy in line that gets hit, right? And so I'm watching left and I'm watching right, and I could care less what the tracks are doing and where we're going. I'm just watching off to the sides, and all of a sudden I said, "Oh, there he is, boys." He was 25 feet to our left, behind a tree, watching on his tracks, just waiting there. Classic bear thing to do. We maneuvered a little bit. Wade put a second shot into him and killed him. It was a nice sized brown colored black bear. He probably weighed in about 250 pounds. Nice, healthy bear. Didn't look like any problem. We reported it to the CO because he had charged us. We had a tag. We didn't have to, but we reported it. But yeah, that bear, we don't know why. He went straight to the voices and then charged.
Hey, thanks for those great stories, those great experiences, Nathan. I learned a lot from them, and I hope that you have too. That's Nathan's stories. I'd love to tell yours. Folks, send in your hunting or outdoor adventure stories to info@themoosewhisperer.com and let me tell them to the world. I know you've got some great stories. Let's get them out there. Heck, we're starting a community here. Thanks for watching. More stories to come.